Looks like he's making some kind of brew there.
Yeah. I think Wolfgang has stepped out into witchery on us. Since he's now doing some kind of a wicked brew. Ted, hey Ted, good to see you. Owen, hello Owen. I can see your name in your chair. It's good enough. Art and Jean, hello. How are two of my very favorite people? So good to see you. And Klaus, hello Klaus. How you doing? It's great to see you, sir. And Jason, hey Jason, it's a pleasure. And Mike, hey Mike, it's really good to see you. And Lloyd, how you doing, brother? Good. And Robin, hey Robin.
And thank you for co-hosting.
Thank you for co-hosting. And is Susie here as well? Okay.
She's obviously in the garden. She's in the garden again doing stuff.
Yes, right.
That's how it is with these wives.
Yeah, that's how it is with these garden fairies, right? Yeah. Oh, wait a minute, some meds here from the angel. Judy, hello, my love. How are you? Good to see you. Vince, hey Vince, I skipped over JP for just a second. It's good to see you, Vince. Fanny, Sophia, and JP, how are you two? It's very good to see you. Yeah. Fanny, how are you doing? Fanny, Sophia, how are you doing? I guess good.
Fine, yeah.
Good, excellent. I'm glad to hear it. And now Susan Foster, hello, dear. It's very good to see you. And Nicola, it's a pleasure to have you with us. Oscar, I see you have no video showing. Is that by choice or is that because you don't know to, if you look over to the left, bottom left of your screen, you'll see an icon of a movie camera with a red line through it. Oh,
yeah, I don't have a video camera.
Oh, you don't have a camera. Okay,
No.
that's fine. I can at least hear you now.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, that's fine. And Prue, hello, Prue. It's good to have you with us, love. And let's see, Glenda just came in. That's great. And I'll wait just a second for her to show. Glenn, oh, there she's connected now to audio. And now video. Hey, Glenda, how are you, love? It's good to see you. Always good to see you. Okay, well, let's go ahead and just take a moment, and the same moment that we always take, because it's always the same moment. And let's take a moment, if we could, and just notice the sense of being. And Oscar, when I say the sense of being, I mean the sense of existence. Just there's a knowledge that, or a sense that you are here right now. And that's what we're talking about. Just the simplest thing and could be. Just that sense of being. Okay, and let's just notice it for a couple of minutes together. Just allow the body to relax, if it will. Okay, thank you very much. So before we get started, and we got some hands up, that's good. I just received a quote from a Maharaj, and let's see what it is and what it says. And it says, you may tell Ajani anything. His question will always be about, will be about whom are you talking? There is no such person. Just as you cannot say anything about the universe because it includes everything, so nothing can be said about Ajani, for he is all and yet nothing in particular. Wow, that's very good, as always. Good job, Nisargadatta. Let me commend you, sir. Betsy? Thank you, baby. That's okay. Wander back to the kitchen and get me some tea, please, ma'am, or I'm gonna die coughing here. I see that. Okay. So, Philip, start us out.
Hi, Oneness.
Hi, how are you, Oneness?
Absolutely, yeah, wonderful. It's just lovely. Really, top of my week is satsang. You know, it's just wonderful to be associating with the truth and just like to pay homage to the beautiful different variations of myself that take me deeper every time. It's a really special room, and just as you come into the room, the frequency rises, you know, a lot. So that's absolutely wonderful. And how's Willie? Is he okay?
Willie is perfectly well. Thank you very much. He is strutting about.
He's running the house.
Oh, good.
He's back to managing all of us.
Yeah, wonderful. And how's the Fred unit doing?
The Fred unit's doing great.
Yeah,
I've had a good week,
right.
and my
All your scans.
yeah, all my scans are okay now. You know, my doctor says there's nothing to act on right now, so
Okay, good.
I'll just take that as it's clean bill of health for now, and that's all we got.
Yeah,
So I'm happy with that.
that's absolutely brilliant. I do have a lot of empathy and compassion for the Fred unit. I think part of the heart opening is having a lot of compassion for
Yeah.
your fellow man, because they are you, you know.
Yeah,
They are
yeah,
you.
Yeah, it's a lot of compassion for yourself, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. No, you're exactly. It's for yourself, but and also
It is a lot of love for yourself and a lot of compassion for yourself.
Yeah. No, you're right. And I think one of the big things here is actually having compassion for this unit. You know,
Yes.
like whereas I know you've got the arthritis and neuropathy. And that's hard, but I've had part of my complex PTSD has been a lot of chronic pain, neck pain in the pelvis, you know. But actually, kind of once in a while, just hugging myself and just feeling sorry for the unit, you know, because it's tough dealing with all these patterns coming up, you know. It can be quite tough just kind of dealing with that, but having compassion for yourself is I think a big part of the heart opening, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. It's it all starts at home.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And that's where it ends too.
Yeah. And I think the compassion extends to, as you say, to everybody. I have compassion for all the perpetrators, all the victims in the world. We have compassion for Putin, the Texas and the Buffalo shooter. You know, it's just blind, reflexive, sick patterning. You know.
There's actually no one behind it.
Yeah, exactly. It's just happening. Yeah.
It's hard to remember that sometimes, but that's always the case, and it's always good for us to remember that that's always the case.
Yeah. True. And I like it where you say with the Ukraine war, see yourself as the bullet, see yourself as the explosion. I think that
exactly
can really see you as being part of the whole. It
becomes a little bit easier to see what is versus what I'm thinking about what I'm judging.
True. True. Exactly. Exactly. And just a couple of reports. I think one of the big things that recently has been noticed here is there's not at the moment, or is there the feeling that I should be clearer than this? How do I stabilize, and
But that's not been happening so much.
no.
Very good.
Yeah, it's kind of, I mean, there's so much terror patterns, so much hopelessness still coming up quite very frequently. But again, it's just, and there is unit overwhelm. There is going back into the dream, not for long, but it still does happen when there's
Sure
of overwhelm. But again, after I've come out of it, there's no feeling that is, I can't fall out of oneness.
Right. That's it. Thank you.
There is just
really tough. It's really tough. You can give it a try, but I don't think
it's exactly
pan out for you.
Yeah. And as you say, there's just conscious awakeness or unconscious awakeness, and those are the two. Well, they're not really different states. They're just what it happens within, within oneness and relativity. So so that's been a plus. And I think also, what especially this week has been about abidance, the Tao running friction free through the through the unit, and the reaction, the response of the unit rather than the reaction of the unit to circumstances. And I think from the noticing here, though, the more stressful events show how much abidance there is, and me and my brother have been helping my mother install a kitchen, and it all kind of kicked off this week with the installer coming in, and it's just been just resistance everywhere. It's just been utter carnage. Stuff, a lot of the kitchen products weren't delivered.
Well, I went into resistance the moment you mentioned it, so
the fitter hasn't fitted the kitchen according to the plans that we set out. It's just been kind of utter carnage. But at this location, although there has been a slight bit of disorientation, that has been seen through, and there's just been very responding, just going with the flow, and just responding rather than reacting in the most wise, compassionate, and fair way that you can. So it's nice to just be in that scenario, feeling oneness in the background, but actually just the flow of what's happening is happening, and you just do your best within.
The difference between you and the hammer is not hallucinating a personality.
yeah. So that's kind of been, it's just been, as the conditioning my mother and my brother has just been, it's disgusting, and they've just been there's a creation of a center there, whereas here there hasn't been that much of a creation of a center. It's just getting on with it, and just.
So notice that the resistance with your mother and your brother's centering, we'll call it, is actually moving you toward a center as well, because there's judgment.
Okay.
And that can only be judgment from a center.
Okay. True. You're right.
It just is what it is.
True.
And they're doing the only thing they can do.
Yeah, that's true.
So,
no, it's true. But it's interesting just seeing it all, just sitting back and watching it all happen within you, within these.
Yes.
But as you say, not centering, seeing through the pattern, seeing through the frustration, seeing through something.
And it may be that all of those things arise, and there's nothing wrong with those arising. So it can be noticing that those can arise, and you can still be present. But the response is not you; it's happening, if you will, underneath you, and all of that is going on, and you can notice that you can be at perfect peace. While in the midst of war, right? They're at war with the world. I used to be.
True. No, you're right. Yeah. So it's good. Okay. Thank you.
Beautiful to see you as always, Philip.
Yeah, and you.
Yeah,
Take care.
thank you so much.
Thank you, Oneness.
You bet. Tom Smith, come on in. I hadn't seen you in a while.
Hey, Fred.
Hey, Tom, how are you?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm good,
Good.
Fred. Hi to everybody. It's been a while. I feel the urge to spew somewhat. I just I don't know what's going on, and I'm just kind of lost. But that's not unusual. But I was with some friends a couple of weeks ago, and the topic came up of Tom, what are you doing? On Sunday afternoons, I go to this Zoom meeting where what's that all about? And I couldn't respond. I just couldn't. I had nothing really to say.
That was a very good response.
Yeah, I just dodged. I just, ducked and weaved and got out of there. But when it comes to non-duality, it's like, from what I can see, it's like all is phony. I just see everything as being bullshit, and I have no grasp of anything, and that's okay most of the time. But,
are you seeing the world, just so I'm clear, are you seeing the world as bullshit, or are you seeing non-duality as bullshit?
I'm seeing the world as bullshit, and I think that there's that there's one truth, or there's an ultimate truth, but I don't know what it is. And
you can't.
Yeah.
You can't know what it is because you're it.
Okay.
There's nothing.
Whatever.
Just so you listen just for a second, and then you can go on with your thing. But when there's only oneness, there's not anything else to know of oneness. There's just oneness. There's just this. So you can never find anything outside of your attention, because your attention is required for anything to exist. It's the same thing with oneness. You cannot, though I can't see itself. You are it. It doesn't make any difference whether the Tom unit believes that or thinks that, or if he thinks that's nutty or whatever. So you are it, and your search for it is always backwards. Go ahead. I'm sorry to interrupt you. That's not to tell you the truth. You know why you were here.
Okay. The Tom unit is not just not comfortable with that. I cannot hang a hat on that. It's just
the Tom unit. The Tom unit's dead meat. It's actually pretty comfortable with everything, just like a body in a casket. It's not really raising hell about the color of the lining. It's just it's when you can recognize that the Tom meat is dead meat, and that you are that which allows for the illusion of a living Tom unit, but you're actually that animating presence. You're not the body. So what the body is sensitive to or comfortable with, or what, it's none of your business, right? It really is not. Just let it do.
Yeah, I very seldom, I don't have opinions. I just kind of roll.
Mm-hmm.
I see it as just, futile. Just, let it be.
That's a very good approach.
People are outraged, and I'm not. But I just feel like I'm an outlier, and I don't know. I just wish I had some reinforcement.
Well, if there was anybody over there, they might be an outlier. but there's not anybody over there. I'm just talking to myself. So are you. Just oneness talking to oneness. And it's oneness telling oneness, hey, oneness, I'm feeling like an outlier.
Well, okay. So what, and also, you know, like when it comes to satsang, you know, what's the point of speaking up other than to maybe get stroked and feel good? That's probably why I'm speaking today.
Well, you haven't really gotten too much of that. What you've gotten is the truth. That's why that's what speaking up is for, is for all of us to get a better grounding in truth. And I've been telling you the truth ever since you started. So not stroking you.
You know, when people are raising hands and ringing in and stuff, ultimately I'm thinking, you know, we could just sit here, I don't know, just sit here quietly or something.
We could.
Yeah,
we could, and some of it would still come through, but
you know, I notice that my speaking now is really seems to be helping the body. My body just seems to be kind of like releasing some tension. And you know, relaxing.
Yeah, you got to get stuff out of your head. When it's just caught up in your head, it's just that's where you get tension and concern and worry and all that. Because when it's up in your head, you begin to develop the sense of a center, that there's a me here and a world out there. And of course, that's just not the case. There's just this, and there's what me and what world. There can't be a world without a me, and there can't be a me without an other. So it's when we speak up here, I don't think it has anything to do with being stroked. I think that speaking up here, it's either a cry to clear or it's a cry for help. And that's perfectly fine, either one. So it is, so when I say a cry to clear, I mean, it's like you have to say something in order to feel like you've reached others. And not that there are others, but it appears like it. So it's a way of getting cleared automatically, because I'm not going to stroke you. You know better than that. I'll just slap you. You know, right? I'm just, Tom, what are you doing? No.
Yeah.
And so it's, you know, I used to have a guy, what he used to call me? It used to call me as, he was with me for quite a while. Any rate, what's the dog that people are so afraid of?
Pit bull.
Pit bull. Yeah, he used to call me his pit bull, and this was a psychiatrist, and he would and I would come in there and just chew his legs off every week, and that helped him clear. He got pretty clear before it was all over too, and when I say it was all over, until he went on to whatever he's doing now. But there was clarity there at least for a while. So a lot of times we come here because we're having trouble being honest with ourselves. And you come here and it's more difficult to not be honest with yourself. And if you're really open, it may become impossible to not be honest with yourself. Because we come here as a Fred and a Tom in some sense, and Fred and Tom are going to song. But when we get here, we find out there's just no Fred, there's no Tom, there's just truth. And this is association with that truth, because every one of these beings represents the truth. Yeah, all of us do. That being over there, even the one that feels isolated, it's hard to isolate from oneness. What Philip said was, I can't seem to fall out of oneness.
Yeah, that was a good statement, Philip.
Yeah, right. And it's the same thing. You can't be an outlier to oneness. People come to me and they say, Fred, I've just got to connect to oneness. And I will just ask them from an intellectual standpoint. I'll tell them an intellectual standpoint is fine for this question. But what do you think there is outside of oneness that could ever possibly connect to it? And they'll ponder that for a minute and they'll say, well, you know, there must be something outside of oneness, but then they realize that there's not. And it's the recognition that what's pondering is oneness. What's that and the very thing that looked at me, honestly, this is really true, Tom, is that what looked at me and said, I feel like an outlier is a beautiful statement, but it's by oneness, because oneness is believing a thought. Oneness is believing, you know what, I'm a Tom. And as a Tom, you will always find discomfort. As oneness, you will never find discomfort. You'll always find wherever you are, whatever what's going on. Doesn't mean the unit won't be screaming in pain or fear or fury, but it doesn't have to affect you. And we can allow these units to be as they are, actually, because we can't allow them to be any other way. They are going as they are, and that's outside of our control. So allowing these units to experience what they experience without trying to step in, because everything's fine until there's a we that tries to step in and like adjust the unit, get it to where it's thinking right or seeing right or hearing right or whatever it is. And really, it's always right. None of these units can get it wrong. They're doing exactly what they're programmed to do, and they can't do anything else. And it doesn't mean everything's carved in stone. It just means that everything is arising spontaneously as it must. And realizing that, gee, I'm not sure. I'm not sure this is right. But if you can recognize that in truth, it can't be wrong. This is as it is, and it can't be any other way.
Thank you, Fred.
Yeah. So you can let Tom off the hook too, right? Because he can't be any other way either, so to speak.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. I love you.
Love you too.
Thank you.
Everybody else as well.
Yeah. Barb Sullivan, come in, dear.
Hello,
Hello. How are you?
I'm good.
Good.
I've been thinking about what you said, that you and I can talk and it just feels like a groove. And but when I come to these groups, I notice I don't speak. And so I've been noticing, I wonder why that is. And it came clear this morning. I believe in the synchronicities of things and how great for Tom to be ahead of me. They're leading right into it. It seems like in these meetings, there's just a grooving along. And then when seems to be a requirement for speaking, it requires regrouping. And then the speaking that issues from that is incomplete and incorrect. And like, it's not the right words, and the words seem to be difficult to put on things, but I think that's because you put words on things that creates edges, and it's not, they're not true. So
Never true. Never
yeah,
true.
So I feel like these other people in satsang probably wonder, why does she never speak? And it's primarily that what words, and they're going to not be the correct what is trying to be said yet. So
yeah, right.
Maybe there's a point coming that comes back.
I know that speaking is I noticed that speaking is happening now.
Yes, it is.
How about that? That's to be commended, right?
Yeah.
Step right up. Because the reason we don't speak is because we don't speak. Once you get into speaking, and you have to kind of cough it up at first, but once you get into it, you discover how rewarding it is to actually become a part of this. And everybody's a part of this, but to become an active part of this rather than a watching part of this. And the more involved you'll be, the more comfortable you are. If we take Tom, whom I just talked with, he said, "Hey everybody, it's good to see you. It's been a while." And the next words out of his mouth is, "I've been feeling uncomfortable."
Yeah.
One has to wonder if there's not a connection there, correct? We can't say that there is, but we certainly can't say that there isn't. So we are comfortable here by coming here. We get comfortable speaking here by speaking here,
Okay,
right?
okay.
And I just think I know that you're clear as a bell, and right. I mean, I know that that's only half laughingly call you the sage of the Midwest.
Yeah.
So it does us good when you speak, and sometimes speaking may be about others and not ourselves, but the others here count. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, dear. It's great to talk to you. Okay, let's see. John, come on in, John. John, you need to unmute your microphone.
There we go. The sage of the Northeast.
Okay, good.
Hi, Fred. Hi, everybody. I'm glad I have a chance to talk, and actually just to listen is so wonderful. I got an email from a friend yesterday, and there were a bunch of political jokes, but one of them was a picture of a sculpture, and the sculpture was of a man, the body of a man, holding a rope, pulling a cart up a hill, and the neck of the man was very long, and it went back, and on top of the cart was a head, his head, attached to his body through his neck, and the head was huge. And the description it was depicted, the heaviest burden that we carry are through our heads.
Yeah, that's it.
And listening to clear people today, it's almost as if I'm in hell with a particular petty tyrant that's in my life, teaching me something. I don't know what the teaching is. I try to live in gratitude for this angry man who is threatening legal action and lives 30 feet away, and it's just distressing. My wife is actually just says, the hell with him and move on. And me, I'm stuck in the head. So suffering seems to be my lot 24/7. There has been some, as of last week, I mentioned, I saw something clear that this petty tyrant is part of God's world. Mm-hmm. And he's awake, just like everybody is.
He's awakeness.
He's awakeness, yes. But my handling of the situation is just so poor. It's been called PTSD, and I'm struggling with that mightily. But I think that I'm learning, and I've had the experience of letting go, and I don't mean letting go of a certain thought or letting go of a situation or letting go of a person. I mean letting go of my life, letting go of me. And on the other side of that is complete peace.
Were you letting go of your life, or were you something else letting go of the John life?
It felt like John made the decision to let it all go.
It felt like that in memory. Was that the experience?
No, it felt like that in the experience.
Okay.
And the experience went through a death. And the death was absence. There was nothing there. There was nothing in existence. I didn't know that nothing in existence, but when I opened my eyes and I looked around, there were no labels. I didn't know I had a body. I mean, it was a complete letting go, a complete death. But when the awakening happened, I didn't know what it was. But little by little, the mind crept in over time, and I gave into it. It kind of took over. I actually, Fred, I needed someone like you to guide me through that process.
Yeah, yeah. People that wake up spontaneously come to me very often because it is helpful, because you don't know what's going on, and it can be very confusing, can be frightening. So let's go back to the awakening. So it felt like John let go. And what did you let go of when you let go?
The last words that I said to myself, and I don't remember me saying this. It said, "The pain is so great that I don't care what happens."
Oh, you betcha. Yeah, there's that. All right. So there you go. Those are the magic words. Is what you were saying is no more negotiation. I give. And now what you do is you face this same thing and you say, I'm not giving until things get like this or that or the other, right? So it is, we begin to negotiate again for the way that awakening should appear, the way that awakening should feel, what it should mean, all of these things, who it should occur to. I mean, and what you're telling about, because that's also almost verbatim what I said in my living room. In my living room back in 2006. And I've talked to many other people, and they actually said something like that, but they didn't say something like that casually. They actually meant it, right?
That's right. It was a meaningful. Now, when I say it, there's fear that comes up. Before, when I said it, the pain was greater than the fear.
Yeah. So, and that's it. The pain becomes unbearable, right?
Right.
And we wake up. Most of us wake up when we absolutely have to, and not before. And sometimes, but there's a spectrum of that. So not everybody has to meet the same low. It's just like in AA, you'll hear there are people that quit drinking when their wife told them, you're drinking alcoholically, and they quit. They came to AA, they stopped, blah, blah, blah. And then there's others like me that had to go all the way down the tubes, live in the park as a bum and all of that before they could recognize, before they could quit negotiating on what not drinking looked like, right? And because anything began to look better than what I had. And that's when, right? Yeah, anything looks better than this should. So, but you can reach a higher bottom than that now. You can. You
mean with an awakening? Reach a higher bottom with awakening?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. You can reach a higher bottom because awakening took place when it couldn't not take place. I don't care, right?
Right.
Those were my words, almost verbatim. And those have been the words of many. It's what did Eckhart Tolle is famous? I can't take this anymore, right? Mm-hmm. Who said that? So what we can do is but this takes tremendous honesty, because what I really teach is I teach awakeness how to come out of denial. That's what I do. I don't teach you and Andrea and Carol Unit and all this, that, and the other. I just teach myself, and I teach awakeness is here in a conscious form. It's chosen for, or there is consciousness here. It's not, it's chosen. There's just, or it could be, I don't know. But it feels to me like there's just consciousness here. And through this conscious agent, it can help itself. It can help itself to drop imagination, because that's what all of our problems are. Talk about that head. It's all in our imagination, because we believe there's something that, there's something other than this, and that's where I ought to be. but there's not anything other than this. And they think, well, if things were so-and-so, then I might, and fill in the blank, I might be okay. I might be enough at last. I'll be happy, whatever. But that never comes. You can't satisfy these units. They just, no matter what you give them, they just want more.
Yeah.
So the honesty is telling ourselves the truth when we're presented with it. And the truth is, there's no John. And I have watched you, Awakeness. I have watched you through that unit. And I've seen you take that hook all the way down. And there was brilliant clarity. But it faded very quickly, because then came the doubts. And now it's about, I'm thinking about what happened to me, says John, versus, because there is a lostness here. There's a lostness because there's no place to stand here. And that's very disorienting. It's one of the reasons we have satsang. One of the reasons I have CSP is to drop in on people on a regular basis just to see, because otherwise you can get so in your head that it may be very difficult to get you back to clarity, or it may prove to be impossible. I've seen that happen too. So,
well, I've heard through satsang over these weeks about claiming your awakeness, and
yeah,
I don't totally understand. I understand that, but the denial, as you talked about, is still fairly thick. I think, and golly,
it can be as thick as it wants, as long as you are willing to pierce it. And the piercing it is allowing to recognize there's only one thing that's stopping you from being fully awake and being right now. And that's you believe that there's a John unit over there that's not awake and should be.
Yeah. And John wants to get into this.
But the funny thing is that we like to blame John on shit like this, but there is no John. So we just make up the character and then use the character like a puppet to tell us why this explain to everybody, this is why I'm not awake. This is what I feel. And it's really, and what the puppet really is, what that character really is, that sense of character is not one there, but that sense of character as it operates, what is it? It's a negotiation. I'm gonna be clear when. And when I get rid of this heavy burden of this deep denial, maybe then I can get it, but not until. So listen, that's a story of future. You will never, ever, ever wake up in the future. You will wake up now or never, here or nowhere. And that's the way of it. It's just the sheer, when we stop searching for that thing that's going to free me, when you just stop searching and look around.
And here,
This is it.
it's here. And
It's not here. You are it. You are here. And there's nothing other than you. It doesn't make any difference whether John understands that or not. We're not trying to wake John up because there ain't one.
Right.
I am right now trying to develop a deep resonance with myself over there so that the truth becomes more obvious. That's what my job is. This unit encourages truth to encourages awakeness to tell itself the truth. That's all. And it works over there sometimes and it doesn't others. And when it doesn't work, you get real frustrated, sometimes angry. And when it does work, there can be brilliant awakeness. And in between, there's usually a dissatisfied seeker. And there is this idea that seeker is going to be satisfied, but it's not. It can't be satisfied. What is it? It's seeking. It's a verb. So how long have you been seeking? 20 years, right? And how's the finding coming? Well, it's not coming very well at all. So are you sure that you're on a path or are you lost in the woods? And we're lost in the woods, but we don't want to tell ourselves that.
Yeah, I'm lost in the woods, but when people ask me, I'm not seeking anymore because I just know, I know it's here right now.
Well, you are seeking because you're saying that there's this deep denial in between you and it.
Yeah.
And that's because you're manufacturing an imaginary other. It's not the same thing exactly as seeking God or whatever. But it is nonetheless, it's maintaining the idea. It's just an idea that there's something better than this. Because this only gets better once you realize there isn't anything better. And then suddenly this gets better because you're coming at it from a completely different perspective. You're coming at it from a God's eye view instead of a John's eye view. And what's happening is the John character comes here in a frustrated manner and it says, Fred, you've just, wake me up. I can't get this thing. I just can't seem to get it. I read, I study, I do this and that and the other, and I just can't get it. And that's because it's the John character that's bitching and moaning. And I understand that. I did plenty of it myself. So I'm not criticizing you. I'm just saying this is what happens. There's nothing personal about that. So if we can instead recognize, just recognize this, John, and carry it around for the rest of the day. I'm just going to tell you flat out, you're crazy as hell. And it would behoove you to go around the rest of the day and thinking, you know what? I'm turning my whole spirituality over to something that's crazy as hell. I've turned my whole life over to something that's crazy as hell. No wonder it's a mess. And this is, somebody told me this, right? They told me this, and they didn't tell me to go around and believe it, but I couldn't get it out of my head. And it really helped. The recognition that, so the first symptom of identification is insanity. That's the first symptom. That's the first thing you'll notice. And you are exhibiting that symptom in a really glorious fashion.
Okay, oneness, craziness it is.
So that's it. Just recognize, if you can just do that and recognize that your thoughts about why you can't wake up or why you can't quite get this or why your wife isn't doing what she should be doing or whatever, just recognize every single one of those thoughts is insane.
It's insane. Yes,
and you can't go to the brain to straighten them out. There's only one way to straighten them out.
Right.
It's recognizing that they're insane. And once that recognition comes about, you won't trust that insanity, and that leaves the door open for truth. Okay?
Okay, thank you, Fred.
Thank you. It's great to see you.
See you.
Glenda, come on in, love.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm very good, thank you. I have a lot to say, but something about the satsang is making me feel like very quiet.
Ah.
All right, so where do I start? Well, I have had a question that I was going to ask you, which was, can you give some examples of having one foot in the dream? And then it occurred that that question is an example of one foot in the dream.
Very, very good. Very, very good. Very good insight.
And then it just came up that the truth of being, if you will, we don't really even know if it is being. We don't know what it is, but
there's a sense of being. That's the most we can declare.
Yeah. It has nothing to say. There's no question.
Never does.
Nothing.
Yeah.
Nothing.
All that's left to the units.
So that happened. Another thing that has been happening, I think I've shared with you this, there's been a sort of sense of lostness. And sometimes the lostness would be owned by imagination, but sometimes what was sensed is that the lostness is that nothing to stand on that you speak of.
Mhm.
And
I'm glad to hear you're feeling that way because that's our objective. Go ahead.
well, it's not an easy place, if you will, to stay. I am from what's been happening here, because different things have happened in the life, and things like that are not I guess not accepted, like from an identity of, you know, a mother, a wife. So motherness and wifeness is not happy about what appears to be happening in
Right.
in the story of life.
Yeah.
And now what's really sneaky is that there's not this I should be awake, or that's not there. In other words, so the identity has the assumption of being awake.
Yeah, right. The
So
erroneous.
so that's not have been challenged.
Yeah.
So there was this like this sense of disease. But the funniest thing about it was, I just had the actual realization about it this morning. I'll get to it. But so that disease was, well, I know that that's like what that is, you know, that it's just the patterns, but somehow seeing that.
That's coming up as memory and not experience.
What I realized was the patterns were knowing that the patterns were patterns.
That's it. Yes, perfect. That's the bubble of self-reflection right there.
So and then I saw it. This is all come back. I said like that. Yes, that. I can't even put two words. So something. I wish I knew exactly what happened, but the experience was, I think, somehow a clarity about whatever is happening that's not liked, that this, it is this, something like that. And there.
Yeah, the only this we could ever be talking about would be this one.
Yeah. And I didn't realize that I was lost in a resistance to the only this that is. But when when it was seen, there was actually a feeling of lightness and opening and clarity, like, oh, and then I could see. I said, oh my goodness. When you're definitely, like you've said, it really is like when you're in the bubble of self-reflection, you don't realize that that's what's being noticed, and that it's not true noticing.
Yeah.
It's the pattern, noticing the pattern. It's not clarity.
I know there's no Bob, says Bob.
Yeah.
I know there's no Bob, says Bob, right?
Yeah, it's like that.
Yeah. So what I was just to break in here just for a minute, let me tell you that what you're expressing here is glorious awakeness. And it's speaking of patterns where awakeness was covered up by belief in a story, and the story was, I'm a Glenda and this sucks. Right?
But the story isn't seen like I'm a Glenda and this.
No,
stuff.
of course it isn't.
I'm a Glenda isn't in the picture.
Yeah, because you're an enlightened Glenda. Right? Right.
Yeah.
So
oh my God.
These are really, I mean, I've been listening to you, and what you're stating is just extremely sharp insights. It really is. It's really good. So to be able to catch yourself in that and somehow catch yourself openly enough that the truth just comes out. You can't stop it.
Yeah, it was.
That is the beauty
Yeah.
of spiritual conditioning, if you will.
Yes, for spiritual conditioning, because yes, it wasn't an effort to not suffer or wake up, or it's just, I don't know, fortunately, what arose other than self-reflection was truth. And then it was, right? Oh, God.
So the spiritual conditioning is also just a pattern. It's unowned, just like the relative conditioning is unowned. It's not owned by, there's nobody's conditioning. It's just conditioning. And conditioning does it does what it can. And the only thing that conditioning can do is react. I don't even want to say respond, because that gives some element of thoughtfulness. Conditioning is completely reactionary.
Yes, and it feels that way. Like there was no control over not feeling sad or frightened. And it was beyond there wasn't a wanting to, I don't know, maybe there was, like, not feel that way. But there was definitely when in that there's something wrong. Yeah. It's just all, and I don't know, there's still, how should I say this? There's still the little voice, like, shouldn't, a little bit like, shouldn't you're still being lost in the bubble of self-reflection?
Yeah, right.
Like that shouldn't happen.
Yes, like that shouldn't happen. Right, exactly.
Like that shouldn't happen. Thought comes up. It's like it really, this whole thing, it really is, I mean, a computer program, what once set, it just survives itself. The program just goes. And unless it's reprogrammed, that's it. So the only hope is putting yourself in the way of truth enough that there's a reprogramming.
Well, that's and what is clearing.
Yeah.
It's reprogramming.
So
what is coming to satsang? It's reprogramming. You could call it spiritual condition.
Well, I told you, I can't. Waiting for satsang is too long. Waiting for satsang, no. Yeah. It's like throughout the day.
Oh, we don't want to ever wait.
No. Well, yes, that in itself, there's no, but yes, but considering satsang to be the only thing that's changing the default or reconditioning, at least for what's going on here, even if there's the bubble, there still is listening to your take, mostly listening. It's hard for me to read, but or contemplating truth, or thinking of unborn, unbound, untouched, like through as much as possible, catching myself, if you will, if there's too long a span, just with attention to the world, to bring attention to truth. That's the story.
The catching yourself that arises from the spiritual conditioning, if you will, which could be termed alertness.
Yeah.
And that's what,
You know.
and you don't wait for satsang. Satsang is a tool, and it's a very good one. I've noticed that very few units can maintain clarity and satisfaction by trying to do this on their own, trying to clear on their own. It was not effective for me. I don't see how anybody manages to do it, if anybody does. So, but this is not the only thing. Your whole life is pointed toward this. I happen to know for a fact that yours is.
Yes.
So, well, hello, welcome to my world. And so, but there's no reason. I mean, what would you be doing if you weren't doing this?
I don't know.
There's something more important.
No, nothing that really matters is what's my answer.
Yes, that's right. That's right. So notice that this is not work for you.
No.
This is what's happening. In the same way that this is not a job for me. I mean, I earn my income through spiritual teaching. I got to earn it somehow.
Yeah.
This way I get to spend 24/7 on spiritual teaching.
Yeah.
So,
As a
but
matter of
it's
fact,
not
I'm
work.
looking forward to the teaching program so much, and the opportunity to ultimately be with people in a clearing process, because it's not, it's clearing, it is clearing myself, so to speak. It's just, I'm sure you know, the more time, if you will, you spend in the service of exposing clarity, the clearer, the more clarity there is to help to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and as we said, nothing's more important than being clear.
So you have these patterns of reading and contemplation and
Mostly listening to you.
Mostly we're listening to me, and it
Yeah.
can be, there may be, for somebody else, there may be meditation in there or chanting or anything you want. I don't care. But there's ultimately, we develop a sort of conditioning where there are patterns that naturally arise when fogginess comes knocking. It's exactly like that, you know, in my own experience, there was this feeling and this great tightness, and it was like, I can't take any more of this. And instantly a pattern came in. I didn't do it because I was in the hell. I was in hell. I was in the dream. But instantly a pattern came up. I was in hell for about 3 seconds, and a pattern arose and said, who said that? And that was enough to break it. And I went from just like pain and exasperation into doubling over with laughter because I saw what had happened, right? Oh God Almighty, it's at work again. What am I referring to? The magnetism of the dream.
Yeah, it's like, but it's thinking. You would think that knowing that all thought, well,
it doesn't do any good. That has to not, knowing that it can be helpful in recognizing that, you know, that, because it's kind of like recognizing what I told
John
like earlier, which is that recognizing your own insanity. And that can be a real grounding place, because it was for me, is like when I was getting sober, I had this roll. It was just like a clock. It went around, but it was just a pattern that went like this. And it was like, I've really got to have a drink. I can't stand this. There's no reason I really shouldn't have a drink. And I'm going to go ahead and have myself a drink. And then boom, you're insane. Oh, so you can't listen to that. right? And and that same thing develops in spirituality, where there's this abhorrence of seeing something, the pattern that I had very early, which is I had done something unconscious, and there was the sense of that there was great relief that nobody knew, which was and it made me talk about that story, well, for the past 10 years, right?
Yeah. I know you would say that I share because I can't not share, but as a reason, if there is, if you will, not the only reason I wouldn't share would be to protect something that Glendinus wouldn't want supposed others to see or know. Like, I don't want others to see or know, Glenda says, that I was in the bubble of self-reflection.
That's right. Yeah, you're right. And what that is the ego coming in the back door and saying, oh, don't share anything about the ego, says ego, because if you do, hell, the whole bubble could be broken. We'd be free. You'd be free. I'd be unemployed, says ego. So it is the counterintuitive move to expose that which you hope to happen. I wrote something you'll be getting it in the letter to teaching students, and I said, it's our job. I don't remember exactly how I put it, but it's our job to help people smash their most precious possession. And when you do that, you're going to get some angry people, right? You're going to get some upset people, and what mostly happens is that isn't said, because we live in a too polite little non-dual community.
Yeah.
And polite. We don't want to hurt anybody's feelings, no matter what. I've hurt people's feelings plenty. I know I have. But that's part of this, is not going along with that. So, you poor baby, I see you're a victim of all this, aren't you? God. So it has to be this dogged determination that Betsy talks about, this dogged determination to express the truth, not just out your mouth, but to express it in your life, to be an expression of a conscious expression of truth.
Well, my conscious expression of being truth in my life is, my husband says, if he does something that I don't like or upsets me, maybe I won't like it for 5 minutes. It used to be for a long time. That's a conscious expression of truth.
Yeah, well, our consciousness expression of truth can be pretty rocky at times.
Yeah.
And that's just part of the way that's happening. That's just the way it's happening. There's no one to judge there, no one to blame. It's just that's the way it's all happening, because that unit can never do anything other than what it does. And what it does will always depend upon the view that it has, or that you have, so to speak, whether you're the character or whether you're awakeness. And so that view is the vital view. And that's what we're doing here, is to try to open up that view, because we start out that there may be like I was, where it felt like there was, the whole God thing was just lost on me completely. The whole spiritual thing was just lost on me. I mean, where's the fun in that, right? And because I didn't think you could have fun without drinking. I really didn't. And even after I quit drinking, I still didn't think you could really have fun without drinking for a long time. But there is goodness on the other side. There is goodness in this. There is a sense of fulfillment, even though it's nobody's. There's still a sense of fulfillment. There's still a sense of pleasure. And there can arise, let's just tell the truth, there can arise a sense of pride, no matter how mistaken that might be, but it's just a sense of pride in the way that things are going, not because I'm doing it, right?
Yeah.
It's like at the end of a satsang, and somebody says, that was a great satsang. That's very touching. I feel that. But I don't take the credit for it, right? I mean,
Yes.
that's wonderful that it came through like, so I was absent, really good, huh? Thank you, Linda.
Thank you, Fred. Thank you,
Okay.
everyone.
Lloyd, come on in.
Hey, Fred,
Hey,
everybody.
man.
Can you hear me okay?
I
Good.
hear you fine. Thank you.
Well, what's going on? I had kind of a bite of the poison apple yesterday. I went for a walk in the woods and I was listening to a bat gap with this guy called Angelo Di Lulu. Have you ever heard of him?
No,
Okay, he's could say nouveau riche. He's a enlightened guy who's an anesthesiologist at the same time, and well, anyway, it was in his the talk with him was very impressive, and he, of course, had a great deal to say about higher stages of awakeness, you know. And so it's easy to take a bite of that and say, okay, where's my pie? Because he's promising a bigger pie in the sky. You know, I want better awareness. I want better awakeness. I want to be anything but this, because he's having something great. So that that was depressing, at least momentarily for a few hours.
sounds like you might have been a little bit under zone anesthesia.
Maybe so, and he put me under quite well. So, you know, yeah, I kept thinking, okay, how come I'm not sensing unity with all things and reading the mind of plants and crows and, you know, and all this stuff? How come I'm just not God? Shouldn't being God be a little better than this? And so, you know, that's naturally a form of insanity, as you were just saying. So,
Right.
So there you go. Easy to fall prey to that. But you know, one reason to come to satsang, I feel, is I am sort of addicted to hearing people's experiences other than my own. I want to know what people are experiencing. And there's no community for that, because most of my neighbors, probably like yours, would think I'm crazy. And as soon as I bring up anything like that, we don't speak anymore.
Right, that's it.
And so it's nice to have a place where you can talk about these crazy things, which to the outside world are pretty insane, or at the very least, not interesting at all. And so I do feel, I was so happy to hear Barbara talk today, but her concern about, you know, not saying anything correctly. Nobody says anything correctly, but it is very important to hear other people and fresh people's perspective on just the reporting, what's going on. You know, there are 4 or 5 people who often talk here, including myself, and so one may get a sense of what's going on for them, but for a broader sense of community, it's actually important to hear, however imprecisely someone may feel they're speaking from their reality, and it's really worth hearing. And particularly when one can fall into these self-reflexive traps and thinking that there should be, you know, a better awareness than this awareness and all of that. It's it's really great to have wider community, and, you know, whatever happens, happens. So one can't force that, but I don't think people should feel bashful about speaking out, particularly if they don't think they have anything to say. What's happening? You know, what's happening?
What's going on in your life? You can make a report if you don't have a question, and just and the report from that view of reality can be important.
Yes, important for the person, and even more important for the community.
Right, that's it.
To hear more experiences and know what's really happening, other than just what's happening for 5, 6 people. And don't get me wrong, I just love it that only 5, 6, 8 people talk because that gives me a chance to talk. And I just love having a conversation with you and with the group. And so, you know, if people want to remain bashful, it's sort of in the interest of my unit to to experience more sunshine or something like that. But really it's you're kind of depriving the group also of sunshine by not letting your own light shine with a report. Reports are perfectly good and they almost always lead to some kind of wisdom, right?
Yeah, it's what we want to make sure is that even though there's no one there to make decisions still happen. And we want to make sure that we're not getting in the way of those. That's about it, right? In other words, there's a feeling here that that I want to say something. And then that raises up a little bubble that says, oh, not right now. Oh, let's not. Well, they're going to think you're crazy if you say this. And probably it's going to be the best thing that's been said all day, right? I mean, sometimes my videos, I will think a video was lousy when I do it, or not great when I do it. Turns out to be very popular because it meets people where they are. And it doesn't need to be slick. It needs to be honest. And that's the thing here, is that you don't need to be slick. I'm used to talking to groups. You're used to talking to groups. And I got used to talking to groups through AA and got very comfortable with that. And it's whether you have that comfort or not, the only way you get that comfort is to do what feels uncomfortable. And that sense of discomfort will diminish. And then you get to feel uncomfortable, like, damn, well, we're running out of time and I'm not gonna have a chance to say anything.
Right. It seems like the sure indication that a person should say something is the thought that, well, I shouldn't say anything.
Yeah, that's it. That's a decision.
Yeah, because the ego could be corrected, and to be corrected in front of a group is never good at all. You know,
No.
for a while I taught foreign languages to high school students, and boy, that was something, because what nobody wants is to be corrected on their pronunciation if they have to speak in front of other people in class,
Oh, God, yeah.
especially if you're a teenager. And most of us never really grow out of being that
That's
shy
right.
teenager anyway.
Yeah,
And
that's
so that indication that I'm afraid to speak, or I really shouldn't speak because I'm probably wrong, that's when you really need to talk.
Yeah, that sense of who gives a shit, well, you'll never find out unless you talk.
Yeah.
Right. And it may be really meaningful.
And sometimes I think there's a presupposition or a basic understanding here or whatever, that that to be awake is to be happy.
Yeah.
And if you're not happy at the moment, then you should keep your mouth shut or something. But is that true? I should be happier than I am, especially if there's awakeness.
And that's continued negotiation. I will acknowledge my awakeness if I'm happy. That's right. So you better give me what I want, because if you don't give me what I want, then I'm not going to wake up for you. Because it's like holding back, but there's no one to hold back from. But it's like, I could say this and it might, nah. And that's getting in the way of the natural flow, which is to share. We go to YouTube, and all of us, go to YouTube and look at stuff on YouTube. Well, the only way that occurs is that somebody is willing to get up there and tell their truth. It may not be the truth, but it's their truth, and that's close enough. It helps me to hear their version of truth, even if my mind picks it apart, kind of like we did the anesthesiologist. Is that for that taking place, that's clearing for me to recognize what's not true, right? That's clearing, because the only thing that we can recognize what's not true is truth. So the willingness to be a part of the solution, and instead of part of just remaining part of the problem and please fix me. I understand that, and I'm not riding anybody on that, but I'm just saying, take a look at that. Take a look at that and see, because, my ego might get bruised. Hell, isn't that what you're here for? Right? So you're not here for that. You're in the wrong room, because we're not going to coddle you here. We're just not.
And one of the things that came up with this guy's talk was the kind of supposition that after his many, deep and abiding experiences, there's never a time when he's not happy as a clam. I don't know that that's an authentic representation of anything.
It's certainly not an authentic representation of conscious awakeness.
Yeah, it's not my experience.
Not my experience, no. Because consciousness, awakeness itself is never unhappy, but there's unhappiness experienced by awakeness through this unit, right? It's recognized, and it's important to see the truth. What did the Zen masters tell us? Before enlightenment, the mountains are mountains and the trees are trees. Enlightenment occurs and the mountains are not mountains and the trees are not trees. After enlightenment, the mountains are mountains and the trees are trees. However, I'm doing an off take on that, but it's pretty close. And it's just a recognition that these experiences, I had a guy write me yesterday, and he wrote me back a long letter today, which I just skimmed so I could just get to the bottom of it, because it was all story. But and he wanted to know. Oh yeah, he wrote me about an awakening session, and about this and that. And I wrote him back. I don't talk anybody into awakening session. If you want a session, book it. If you don't, don't. And he wrote me back and he said, well, can I expect one of these experiences? And he had some experience where somebody wakes up, or theoretically does. I didn't watch it. He sent me a clip, but I didn't need to watch it. And I just wrote him back and said, man, if you're on it, if you're stuck on experiences, we're probably not going to have any luck. Not that an experience can't happen, but that's what you'll be looking for. And the truth is, if you're not, what we need to be looking for is truth.
Well, right. When you said the crushing the precious thing that people have, that's their story. And what many teachers are offering is a fantastically freaking beautiful story in the future.
That's what new cars do, and big houses do, and trophy wives do, and all of this is it allows us to tell a grander story about ourselves. It's a representation of all that. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with nice houses and nice cars. I'm just saying that all of that stuff is great bait for unconsciousness. And it's because, as I embroider the story, I get further lost in it. When I put the knitting needle down, now maybe I can begin to unwind some stuff, but I won't be able to unwind it until I put the knitting needle down, if you will.
Yeah, nobody wants to chop wood and carry water.
No. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's exactly right. Before enlightenment, chop wood, carry water. After enlightenment, chop wood, carry water. And that is like, hey, that's not the deal I'm looking for, God. Let me share what my vision is. As if your opinion of enlightenment matters, right? And your vision of enlightenment matters. This is as it is. There's no adjustments. I looked for an adjustable what is for 24 years, and I never found one. And finally, noticed I was stuck with this, and thank God, because this is now, I mean, I don't want to, this is a good experience over here, way predominantly. I have to confess that, but I'm not going to say that there's always happiness, that there's never discord, you know, and, you know, I get if I sell a pocket knife on eBay and then somebody wants to return it, you know, it's like, oh shit, right? That ain't right. It shouldn't be like this. That won't last, but that can arise, and there's no problem with that. That's not an expression of an unawakened being. It is an expression of life taking place as it does.
Yeah, there is an expectation. Well, take clarity or gaining clarity. Who gains the clarity? Is it the unit working on clarity? It seems to be the unit working on clarity, but that's
no,
not
it's
really
awakeness. It's awakeness that actually gets clear in the absence of the belief in that I'm a Fred or I'm a Lloyd. So clearing is not clearing up Fred or Lloyd. It is clearing Fredness and Lloydness out. And that's what we do when we get it out of our head and into the room. Like, you know, I admire John. He's had, I mean, I've given him some rough times in here. He comes back, stands up and comes back. That's the only way that it's ever going to get any better, is to take it and come back, right? And you not take all this personal offense. You know, oh, he hurt my feelings, right? And now I'm back to being a victim. Oh God.
Yeah, we mistake clarity for psychotherapy or something like
Yes,
that.
yes,
It's
right.
also useful, but it's not the same thing. We're working on the other end of the stick, on the absolute end. Isn't that right? Or do
Yeah. If you want somebody to, this can allow you to have a much nicer dream. But if within that dream, if you're still believing that because you were molested or raped or beaten up or whatever, you know, or an outcast, if all of that, if any of that stuff, any or all of that is still bothering you within this, then going to somebody and having them clear up, they were not going to clear up the circumstance, but they can clear up your recognition, your understanding of the circumstance. You know, that just, and they can help you realize, you know, the greatest thing about the past is that it's over, right? And so, and I say this from somebody who was raped, but you know, that's just an experience from long ago. It didn't happen to me. It happened to the unit, and it's just okay, because that unit, there was nobody doing that either. And that unit was doing the only thing that it could do, because it was because there was a certain sack of conditioning present, and there were certain conditions, the environment, and those two acting together, it's unstoppable, absolutely unstoppable.
And that means, if I'm understanding this correctly, that we all are under threat of having terrible neighbors from time to time. That's just like COVID or one thing or another. There's always that threat that your neighbors could turn bad, and that's a troublesome circumstance. And probably awakeness is not going to make that any better. That is, it's not that one wouldn't get angry or afraid if you had some kind of insane neighbor, right?
Yeah, and to speak to this very truthfully, Betsy and I watched yesterday as an ambulance took away our neighbor, who's about 100, and they, right? I mean, really right about 100. What is he, 99?
He's 99.
99, that's what I thought. Yeah, he's 99 years old, and now he can no longer live on his own, which is understandable. And he did not fight to stay home. He realized, I can't do this. So I looked at Betsy and I said, well, this means we're gonna get some new neighbors. And we just both kind of rolled our eyes, like, right? Like, this ain't right, you know. And the last time we got new neighbors, We got great neighbors because they're never here, right? They're just never here. And so it's like we have a vacant lot next door, and that's marvelous. And there's no music, there's no animals, dogs, or there's no jealousy or defensiveness or whatever it is that you might get from a bad neighbor. Screaming children, oh Jesus, right? And I could come to see that has to be, if that has to be. But if it doesn't, I'm really grateful. So it is as it is, enlightened or not. Yeah.
Great, Fred. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Lloyd. I really enjoyed that as ever. Kron, come on in. Good to see you. Here's another man that stepped up to the plate many a time, and I admire that. And guess what is happening? Kron is clearing too.
Hey, hello.
Awakeness is clearing through the Kron unit, or was.
Yeah. One funny note is that I was also watching some videos of this anesthesiologist like Lloyd was speaking of. And I think I was getting lulled into a sense of like, this will improve my situation, or what he speaks of.
Yeah.
Things of that nature.
If somebody if a teacher is not awake and you pay him close attention, he can pull your ass right back into the drain. It happens all the time.
Yeah, I think maybe part of my comfort of coming to these satsangs and my ability to actually talk in them is that I feel like I'm not getting something pulled over my head, or
right.
But yeah, I had physiologically, I'm really tired and kind of going through some things, but I had a quick question about, sometimes I feel like I am in a sort of the spiritual desert, or a situation like a good equanimity and things like that. And it's almost like boredom sets in, but
who's bored at that time?
No, but are the unity?
No, it sounds like a Kron to me. I'm just checking. Kron gets bored, doesn't he?
Yeah.
But so tell me how much Kron weighs?
Nothing.
So you're letting something that weighs nothing run your life. Is that right?
Yeah.
Oh, I do too.
Betsy just said, "Oh, I do too."
Right there with you, Kron.
Yeah. So I remember we talked in satsang a long time ago. I think someone talked about self-inquiry and came up with the phrase like, am I awarenessing, or am I something like that? Because we were saying,
are you awakeness, or the truth is that you're not awake, you are awakeness. Is it something like that?
Yes, and not that there might be something more direct than asking who am I?
Yeah, which could be, you could just ask, what am I? Because if you ask that question right now, do you have an answer? Come up with it? No, it's a good question to ask. What am I? Because I mean, I can tell you that I don't know what I am, but coming to that realization head on, typically as a result of inquiry. That, in other words, us talking about it is one thing, but you're actually doing it and experiencing that. You can also, you can just become your own monitor and watch out for unconscious statements. They will very frequently have something to do with how or why. How does this go? How does this work? I have no idea. Why is it like? I have no idea. It just is as it is. So when you catch yourself, particularly if you catch yourself complaining or inquiring into the workings of the deeper ends of spirituality or relativity, you could catch that and say, who's saying that? Because right now, you know this well enough. Right this minute, are you a cron?
No.
Right, but it's cron that that comes up. Questions come up, and it's not recognized that it's cron asking. That's the importance of coming to find, coming to see who you really are right now, because it doesn't carry, it's not portable. There's not a permanent enlightenment over here. There's no one over here to be permanently enlightened. There is enlightenment over here, if you will. And when I, awakeness, know right now that in the face of this computer and all these pictures and books and all this and that and the other, that I know who I am. And there's a sense that I do, but I don't know who I am. And coming to recognize you don't know who you are. And because if you don't know who you are and you don't know what's going on here, and I'm not the foggiest, then there is no possible way that you can tell yourself a believable story about what should be going on right here. And therein lies the rub. It is always about, it's always, the complaint is always the same. It ought not to be like this. It shouldn't, things shouldn't be like this. Right? And because it's just not, that's not true. Because there isn't anything other than this. There's no one to gain, and no one gains greater clarity. Greater clarity begins to come through a unit, like it's come through yours, right? It's come through yours and you're speaking here. It's been undeniably recognizable, but then it drops back and it wants to know, so I'm bored, right? Can you fix that? Or no, I can't. I don't want to. Because what I want you to be seen is that there's no one there to be bored. So that's a thought. It's a thought. And that thought can't arise until the first thought is believed. And the first thought is always, I'm a cron. And once the thought that I'm a cron is believed, then the first thing I'm going to notice is, shit, this is nothing. This is what cron deserves. I'm bored, right? So it's recognizing that the cron arising is a hallucination.
Mm-hmm.
It is in the end, it is untrue. It's true in terms of relativity, and we honor relativity with attention and care. But that's ultimately not what we're doing here. This is not to have a better dream. It is to wake up from the dream, because when you are genuinely awake from the dream right now, believe me, there's just no boredom. Now the unit could find itself like in a waiting room trying to wait for its car to get fixed or something, and the unit may, oh God, this is boring, but that'll only be because I've gone back into the I'm a Fred unit and they're just taking too damn long. Instead of, oh, they're working on my car. And no commentary. And there's no boredom. It's not like it's taking too long. It is that it's taking exact right amount of time. And the only thing that will disagree with that is an ego. So it's catching the fact that ego is constantly working with the innate magnetism of the dream, if you will. And because when think of the dream as having begun in something like the Big Bang, and everything explodes and we exploded, and we are iron filings. We've exploded all, big time. But that that where that explosion was is a great big electromagnetic force, and it pulls all the filings home again. So resisting that pull, so to speak, or coming to see that the pull is false, that's what we're doing here. And I wish I could give you some hope for Kron, but I can't. It looks like it sounds like that Kron's in a fatal situation. He just hadn't recognized it completely yet. Okay.
Yeah, no, thank you very much, Fred. And I liked coming to this satsang today. It's been fun so far.
Great. I'm so glad. That's perfect. That's the other thing we're doing here is we're having fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's key. That's really key. Thank you, Kron. Ted, step on up.
Hi, Fred.
Hi, Ted.
I won't be too long, so just
We
wanted
got
to make
plenty
a
of
couple
time.
comments.
We got
Yeah.
plenty of time, so speak what you will.
All righty. One, I want to comment firstly on what Lloyd said about this guy, the anesthesiologist, saying he was never unhappy. Well, he's still based out of the unit. Awakeness needs the unit. Consciousness needs the unit to be, and the unit can suffer some pretty bad things.
Yeah, yeah.
And I don't think Awakeness / him would be happy if the unit had a car accident and his legs are smashed or whatever, right? So it is a little bit facetious what he said, but anyway, we're all making these various comments on.
When I had, let's extend this just a little bit. The day that I found out that I had neuropathy, I can't say that instead of just that I was out of shape, that there was something actually wrong. That was not a happy moment. It was not, well, also, it wasn't a moment of terror or discord even, but it certainly wasn't something that made me happy. And, but it's not actually, this awakeness is not about the unit's happiness.
Right.
So anything equating unit happiness with, I mean, it seems to be a side effect very often. But it's not, there's nothing constant, right?
Right. Well, your laugh indicates, like I laugh a lot. Now I laugh, here I am dying of cancer, and I laugh a lot more than I have laughed for 60-some years.
Yeah.
And just so that I know what you mean.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Anyway, my other comment is you and people have commented, that we're maybe too shy to talk about some of the stranger things. Well, this is a stranger one. I was sitting at my dining room table and looking at the beautiful where I live. There's all trees around and everything, and trying to minimize any character, which seems to be capable. There's something possible now. So I'm in peace, and all of a sudden I feel this shadow going outside, and I think, what the heck, something really big. And I look out the window, and I almost saw my own face coming around, maybe 30 feet high, swinging around the trees, and it started to laugh. The face started to laugh, my face, the unit's face.
Yeah.
And I thought, wow, this is so neat. And I started to laugh too. I mean, we're the same thing, right?
Yeah.
We're all laughing. So I thought I'd pass that on because it's not all heavy lifting.
Yeah, right. It's not. No. And I would love to, I mean, I've got my fingers crossed that I will have a really nice spiritual experience this afternoon. It won't mean anything, right? Unless it is the carrier of greater clarity. But but these things, there is joy in them. There is, because ultimately there's joy in everything.
Right.
Yes, because
I mean, there was no feeling of, or very little feeling of Tedness when the giant head started to laugh.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Yeah. Why wouldn't it laugh? Right? If the giant head knows the secret.
Yeah. Anyway, that's all I've got.
That's fine. Thank you, Giant Head.
Yeah.
See you later. Kathy, come on in, Kathy.
Hi. Hi, everyone.
Hi, what you got?
I wanted to share that I can be addicted to TikTok at times. So anyway, had this picture with these masks, these kind of fierce looking masks, almost like a wolf mask. You couldn't see them real clear, but they were metal and fierce. They were lined up on a fence, and there was like eyes and a nose and a mouth cut out. Well, there were huskies behind it, and they would stick their, you could see these eyeballs, and they have their faces, and they were all, and they could, if you look down, you could see their paws, but they were all like lined up, and every once in a while one would look away, because at first you saw it, it was like, well, what the hell's that? Well, there's these faces stuck in there, and they're just, it's hysterical. But I thought, oh, well, that's awakeness, you know, that's how it is.
That's it. Yes,
I'm looking through this mask, and if I go to sleep, I look away, and then I wake up and I look back through, right? But I can't do anything. I'm just there looking through this mask, you know, enjoying whatever's happening or not enjoying what's happening.
Yeah. The I've forgotten, but the Greek word for mask was like person. I mean, MASQUE, or I guess that's the way they spelled it. I don't know how they spelled it, but but their word for the meaning for mask for them was person.
Persona.
Persona.
Lloyd put down persona, and someone else had it also.
Persona.
Yes, which was great for me, because there's still very strong things I want to, you know, fix Kathy. Kathy's going to fix her life. Blah 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 blah. You know, she's going to have that. Still going to have that big experience. Which is in a way is what Lloyd was alluding to, with this person promising all these levels and everything's going to be, it's going to be so great when it all kicks in.
Yeah, and it'll happen in the near future.
In very near future.
But it's always going to be the near future. Yeah.
And yes, there's always a promise. And it's funny, I watched a couple near-death experience things recently, and the one woman came back, she popped out. She says, I saw the car coming, and she says, I knew at that instant, oh, this is how I die this time. So she said, but I had a choice. She said, I realized I could leave or I could stay here and experience all of that. She said, so I left. She's not, so it was kind of interesting. I watched myself, my head go through the windshield, and I thought, oh, all right. But she ended up coming back, and then she picked up all these diseases and stuff. But she says, well, but that was just, you know, experience, you know, that was just the experience of it. And
variety of
okay too. Yeah, just so she said, I got on all this travel, I'm going here and there. She said, but then I picked up Legionnaires, but then she didn't make any deal of it. It was just another experience, but I liked the fact that it wasn't just, oh, everything was just, the sun came out.
Yeah, right.
The butterflies were flying.
Yeah, that's it.
You know?
Right. Yeah, so all pony rides
still
in
part of the dream.
Yeah.
You know, the story that you're going, oh, when you wake up.
Yeah, because that's
is just,
and that was what I was demanding. That I wouldn't wake up until I had that. Well, guess what? What, you ain't gonna wake up.
right. Well, because then that's still not good enough. That's you're not enough.
No.
You're not enough.
Yeah.
You're not enough. If you were enough.
And you're never gonna be enough, even because when you get to where you'll be enough, you'll notice, well, this is nice, but it's not enough.
Right. And that's not enough. So this was not be it. So then this would not be it.
We set up these goals. We set so that when we get there, we can say, oh, look, I reached it. But if you look at any of these, because I used to do goal setting and stuff when I was a salesman back in the day. And what you recognize is that it may lead, for some people, it may lead to greater performance. But for me, it just led to greater ridiculousness. Because what I notice is that the minute we hit a goal, in these situations, the minute we hit a goal, we just form another one. Yeah. And that's the way it's supposed to be work, because you get to be king of the world that way. And maybe you do, and maybe you don't. But but the idea that I'm going to be constantly engaged in suffering for something that isn't. I mean, it's just an endless process. And if you ever do get rich or whatever it is that you're after there, usually it's rich. And then you'll notice well, as some clients of mine have, you know, this really isn't it. This is nice, but it ain't that nice.
Right, that's being Sisyphus.
Yeah.
We're constantly pushing, you know, get the boulder to the top then, but the
Yeah.
damn thing goes back down.
That's right.
So
That's
I
it.
go
Right.
down
Yeah.
and get it again.
Yeah. Prometheus. Was that right? No, I don't know. It wasn't Prometheus.
Sisyphus.
Huh?
It's Sisyphus. It's
Yeah.
Sisyphus.
Yeah. Thank you. The every day had to push the boulder up the mountain. Every day he had to be laid out and have his eyes eaten by birds. Remember that?
Yeah, it was pretty gross. Yeah.
Pretty gross. Yeah. The Greeks had
Pretty
a
gross
real,
story, but yeah.
real flair for that.
Yeah, they were very good. Yes, very good at good torture stuff. You know, we could.
So it's we plug on, don't we?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We plug on through, and because there is a lot of freedom in recognizing that, well, this is a hell of a problem. Thank God it's not mine, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I can see where the unit would not be happy about that. Jeez. Poor bastard. But, you know, but that doesn't mean that I need to suffer over an imaginary character's experience, right?
Yes.
If if I'm playing a video game and my avatar dies, I don't like have a funeral. I go get another avatar, right?
Yep. That's right.
Because I'm experiencing through this thing, but it's not actually my experience. Yeah, it's my vicarious experience, and
Right.
a vicarious experience is really a lot less painful.
Right, because we don't have, it's not personal. There's no
Yeah, that's it.
persona.
Yeah, right.
It was perfect. There's no persona. There's, you know, it's just, I'm just looking through here and, ooh, look at that. Ooh.
Yeah, that's right.
That one wasn't too good.
That's great. It's good to see you. It's good to talk to you.
Good to be here. Thank you. Thanks, everybody.
Yeah.
I love satsang and I pick up so much.
Yeah.
It's so wonderful.
Thank you so much. Okay, Robin, come on in. We've got plenty of time.
Hi.
You.
I just wanted to comment on. I think it was Lloyd talking about.
Make it a long comment. We've still got.
Okay.
We still got.
You asked for it. You asked for it. Okay. No, it's like everybody loves to talk about the weather, and when we're doing these reports, it's so interesting to hear about the weather in Denmark or Missouri, or but the spiritual weather. How's it going? How's it going?
Right. That is. It is an inquiry. It is an inquiry about the weather.
Yeah, and there might be a forest fire going on. So I'm glad I'm here.
Yeah, my life is on fire. Thank you for asking.
Yeah, but so I don't know, but I do have a report, and I think we talked about it in our CSP session. I had my annual review with my boss this week, in my annual meeting. Well, how are things going, Robin? And I was called out on a pattern which I wasn't really aware of. I wasn't really seeing it clearly, and it was this. The unit has an introvert pattern that needs to retreat from complete sociability. So when I have a break, I don't hang around everybody else. I sort of find a quiet place to relax and chill out, right? And sort of that's what the unit recharges, as it were, the social.
Well, it's important.
Yeah, but what I wasn't aware of was that it was giving some of my colleagues the feeling that I didn't want to be with them. They were sort of feeling neglected, feeling trashed, and as soon as I got what the new thing is. I mean, before awakeness and so on, I would have taken this so personally and felt really awful and given myself so many hits on the head about it. And this time, the first thing I did, as soon as I came out of the meeting, the first person I walked into with my colleagues said, "Oh, we just have to talk." And I just went through the whole gamut of telling everybody individually that it wasn't personal, and it's just, I feel, I need this rest and so on. And when I came home and told my wife, she was sort of flabbergasted, that was, are you okay?
Right. That was so un-Robin-like.
Yeah, absolutely. So, and it hasn't really hit home, because when we talked about it on Wednesday, it was still so fresh. So, I didn't really see how big it was until now, that it's just water off a duck's back, or one's back.
Yeah, right. So, exactly. It's really hard to insult oneness. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, anyhow, I'd like to hear what Susan has to say.
Okay, great.
I'll pop off. Okay.
Let's now. Here's a non-dual therapist, and her methods would not be just as I described. Come on in, Susan, and share.
It's interesting you said that, because that made me think of something. The kind of analysis I do one-step therapy. Snap out of it. I used to have a mug with that image on it. I'd have to hide it for certain clients, but it's funny you said that, because that's what popped in my head when you said it. Snap out
I can help. I can help you quit smoking. You know that long white thing that you put in your mouth every morning. Yeah,
don't do that. Stop that. Stop that is another great. I don't know if you've ever seen the Bob Newhart. Stop that. He plays a psychologist, of course, and does this 5-minute, he gives you 5 minutes for $5. Right. And it's hilarious.
It is hilarious.
Yeah. Stop it. And, but what I've noticed, and I've shared with this with you privately, but I thought, have I ever mentioned that in Satsang, is there can be discord happening here with the unit, like things should be different than this. And, lately it's been, my son and daughter in love, they should have a lot more respect for me than they do.
Oh, absolutely.
Right? Yeah. Because I am the all-knowing child development specialist.
Right. Yeah, you're the expert.
Oh, absolutely. And then I recognize that, and I think about the insanity. That's the word, insanity. And so you've used that. A lot of people have used that today, and I thought, well, this is really fun. But the thing that I wanted to share is what I noticed, like there can be discord, and I log on to Satsang, and it's like, oh.
Right. There's this whole other way. Yeah.
Oh. And so it just dissolves into nothing, which is so beautiful. And that, of course, I profoundly have that, that's experienced when I work with you privately, but I can watch your YouTube video, anything like that. It's like whatever it takes to remind itself of what it is or isn't. Yeah. Yeah. And I love it when you share, I don't know what I am. I just am. And of course, Popeye's been.
I don't even declare that I am. I declare that I probably am.
Yeah. The great prophet Popeye talked about us. Yeah.
Yeah. I am what I am. Right.
Yeah. And that's all that I am.
Yeah.
And so thank you. This is just so brilliant. And believing the mind is absolutely insane. Yeah.
And this is coming from an expert, folks.
Yeah.
But it's coming from an insane non-dual therapist.
Absolutely insane. And then if people talk about feeling like they're going crazy, my response is always, oh, good. That's so great.
Yes. I get it.
That's it. Yeah.
That's the doorway. That's the doorway. Yeah. And it'll people, say, well, people think I'm going crazy, or I feel like I'm going crazy. And I said, yeah, that's what it feels like when you start going sane.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
And that's what we're doing here, is we're going sane. We're just
truly insane. Yeah.
Everything into alignment with the one thing.
Yeah. And then you said something else that really touched me. And just, there was like one of those mini awakenings, when you said it. And you were actually talking to Glinda, I think, spiritual conditioning.
Yeah, right.
wow.
Yeah.
Just the phrase.
Yeah. Yeah.
Even now saying it to you.
Yeah.
Erectile pillars, like goosebumps. Yeah.
Yeah. Right. It's the idea that everything has conditioning, except this or whatever. Everything is conditioning. If it's a thing, it's conditioning. If it's an experience, that's conditioning. It's conditioning rising to meet circumstance. Boom, boom.
That's the other phrase that I've always I just have that on the refrigerator. And the refrigerator is my backup guru. All this stuff.
And what when you have what up there?
Oh, like I put Fredisms up there.
I see. Okay,
they're
good.
Like, or snap out of it is another good one.
Yeah, right.
Or even the Ho'oponopono prayer. These little things that just like, that allow the resting.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying, and who cares, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Who cares?
And just being with, it's an honor to sit with people. It really is.
Yeah.
And
I feel that very much.
Yeah. And truth happens, and they wake up in spite of Susan, so to speak. And because of awakeness.
Yeah.
And it comes through. And I know you've said this too, like when I sit down and I'm facing myself in another form, Susan just leaves. I don't know how it happens, but it happens, and it's so amazing that like right now, I don't even know who's talking because
Right. I don't either.
Yeah.
I know it's me. Because there's nothing other than me.
And by the way, I have to tell you how disappointed I am in awakening and enlightenment, not making me younger, stronger, richer. And
I share that grief.
Damn it.
I just knew it was going to work.
I know.
Yeah. Younger, smarter, taller, richer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Lloyd says, please, at least younger. Yes.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
At least.
Yeah. I'm willing to cut a deal here.
Yeah.
Just younger, please, will work.
Yeah. And then someone mentioned a near-death experience, which I had night before last, totally forgot until they mentioned it. I'd fallen asleep with my face on the pillow and I couldn't breathe. So I started dreaming that I was suffocating and that my face was in the ground and I couldn't get up. And I thought, well, this is how I'm going to die. Wow. And so I'm thinking it's, and I thought, well, then I'm going to die in my sleep.
Yeah, right.
And so then the thought arose, well, then sit up, stupid. So I sat up and here I am.
Very good. Yeah. Right.
No fear.
Like the ambulance driver saying, stay with us.
Yeah. There was no fear, not an ounce of fear.
Right.
Oh,
yeah.
More like curiosity.
Yeah. Oh, this is interesting. Who would have guessed it would end like this, right?
Yeah, I was thinking, being in a hospital bed with my son holding my hand,
near-death experiences you would think would be actually more common than they are, given the fact that there's a death experience or the lack of experience of a death every night. Yeah.
Yes. Yep. Exactly. Yeah.
Mini death, the little death.
Little death. Yeah.
Thank you, darling.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you all so much. Let me get my view changed here so I can see you all. There we go. It's wonderful to have you. Hey, Carter, it's good to see you. And Pear, it's very good to see you. Mike, hey, Mike. Jan, very good to see you, sir. Who other suspect? Judy, it's good to see you, love. Vince, very good to have you. Nicola, hello, how are you? And I think I've talk to everybody else. And Oscar, we're glad to have had you with us. And of course, Prue is always a constant. We're loving having you here. This has been so much fun. Let's do it again next week. Yeah. Be well. Hey, Jason.